Good afternoon, traders. It's Mark here from the day trading room. Time is quarter to 2 in the afternoon, London time, on Wednesday, the 12th of January, and it's about time for me to do a video update to the blog and discuss some of the my DAX trades and some of my Dow trades. Um, let's get started with the DAX. As you know, if you've looked at my previous videos, I'm opening myself up to a few more markets: oil, DAX, Dow, and any volatile stocks. One or two little trades on oil, but I want to run through the DAX and the Dow trades because they're really the same methodology, just adjusted slightly. Um, so it runs in the theme of the videos I've been doing and the methods I'm using for those markets. So let's get cracking. This was Monday morning. The DAX opens at 8 o'clock in the morning, London time. The cash DAX, that is. It actually opens at 7 and starts to trade. That's the pre-market futures. The cash actually opens at 8 o'clock. You can see that causes a big increase in volume, and that's when we're really looking to get involved. The DAX futures are 25 euros per point move, so they're a lot larger than the YM or the ES, so much smaller size is required for the same level of exposure. And obviously, as I'm just starting to introduce this market for 2011, keeping my position size small. So two scales is all I've got really, all the bullets in the gun. So let's have a look and discuss what we got up to. So there's Monday morning. You can see we gapped actually above here. Let me just quickly explain to you what we've got here. This is the futures. This top chart is the DAX futures. This sort of sub chart here is the DAX cash. I like to look at the cash levels as I do on the Dow. I think that's very, very important. It's often overlooked, but essentially that's what we're trading. We're trading the futures. We are trading the cash. So very important to keep an eye on those levels, and also the whole numbers, the 6,900, 7,000, the same as I do with the Dow cash. So very important that. This is the 3-minute chart. Looking for the cycles, looking for the longer term patterns, and just getting a little bit more of a perspective. And on the other screens, which you can't see here, I've got a 15-minute, 60-minute daily, just so I can see where we are in relation to the other stuff. And of course, I will do my analysis and seeing, marking down all our key levels and levels of importance before we get going, just as we would with the Dow. Okay, so let's discuss why I took some of these trades and the outcome of the trades. Okay, so the open was 8 o'clock. We basically pushed up. This is probably the best thing to look at the open here. We started to push up, push down a little bit more. So we've got that little double bottom type, a little bit of a higher low. Pre-market had been trading up here. The dotted line here you can see was actually the prior day, which was Friday's low. So it actually gapped out of the range. And you probably know that one of my premises is to look for some strength to go back into the range at least once, and then we'll see what happens from there. So I had two trading ideas really. The first was to push up to that to fill that range, and then potentially the gap further on. The second idea was for us to hit 6,900 on the DAX cash, because it had been a reasonably key level from the week before. It paid a lot of interest at that level. Whole number, lots of good stuff happening there. So those are the two ideas. I'm looking for some sort of trigger, one or the other. I happened to take the long, and I took the long because of this. We started to push lower, had a higher low, and then consolidated. And this was obviously a little bit of resistance and support. Support from earlier then became resistance here at the 6,940 level. We popped over on that candle there and then came straight back through. The important thing is we've been consolidating, so this very tiny bull flag, and I guess the key to this trade is really the risk is so low because the bull flag is quite shallow. Any move down to here, it just negates the setup, so you can afford to have reasonably tight stop. And my target is going to be the low of yesterday on the cash, and ultimately the gap fill. So there's some room for it to breathe if it wants to go. It had been there pre-market, so we're not looking new territory or anything. So the odds are okay. So I took the long there as we pushed up. Got the pop. Held on through this candle here, just thought it might be a little bit of consolidation before another push, looking for a good drive up there. Didn't get it, so as this candle came down, made that fractional high, and then a little bit of tape selling came in and just pushed it down. So there was my exit on the first scale. It was about 8 tick. The actual DAX increments in half, so it was 8 points, which is about 16 ticks. So think of that as you will, as you prefer to think of it in points or ticks or whatever. But you can see the entries and exits there in relation to the price. Gave the second half of that more opportunity. The classic pattern is potentially, you've got the resistance level there. It's bouncing, it pushes through, it tries, hopefully you get the flag and then the push on. That's in an ideal world. If you don't get that, then the second best thing is you get in the push through, you're getting a little bit of a pull back and then a continuation. That's the second best case scenario. So that's what I thought we may get there. Let's just clear some of that again and start again so we can see the actual prices. Yeah, I've got that consolidation there. There was my level I was looking at. Consolidation, push through, got the pull back to the level, so I gave it the opportunity on the second half for it to then run. It pushed up, ran out of puff, and I came out as we pushed back again to this level for a couple of point gain. Nothing much at all on that. It was almost a scratch trade. So didn't work out as expected. Didn't quite get the move. Took the first scale, which meant it was a profitable trade. Kept the second half there, ready to get out. Got out quick, and it happened to be the correct thing to do at that time. Unfortunately, it was actually probably the worst premise out of the two. Really, the better trade on that day was waiting for that to fail at the low, then looking for it to fail and not push again. The consolidation, the pullback, the drive that failed, then for it to roll over, and of course we've got a nice target of 6,900, which was where it tagged. As it became clear that this was failing and it wasn't, no buyers getting interested in there, that was a potential nice 40 point 30 point trade, should I say, for someone. But not bad for the first trade. Happy to be reading that okay, even though the actual premise was the worst of the two. Second trade of the day was on the DAX. This was one of my classic trades. Usual thing for me, this. I use it on the Dow a lot, so the reason why it's not going to work on any market really. Looking for that flush, got the flush, and actually it went below that key level of 6,900. You can see I've marked that on the chart, and actually you can see how important that was. Played out. The cash bounced off it several times before finally rolling through it. A lot of volume coming in, really flushed out a lot of people. And so what I'm looking for that counter trend move to get short. Didn't get short on this little tiny pullback and lower. So if I'm not getting that, what I'm looking for the counter trend to get short, the deeper cycle. And this was absolutely an absolute perfect trade, really. Counter trend move. It cycled. This is where we are in the 3-minute counter trend move. Cycled back up to overbought on our stochastics or any oscillator you can use for that. And more importantly, it came right back up to that 6,900 level. It is definitely worth a go. No reason not to take that trade. Okay, it was quiet and it did take a while for it to wind back over and really cash in on that. But it's a nice little trade. They work well. They roll over beautifully. And I'm going to give another example about yesterday, an almost identical trade on the Dow. So that was great. I actually took that short. I had a reasonably tight stop. It was about 10-point stop, and I left it with a 10-point trail. I thought, okay, I don't want to be sitting in front of the screen on this. I want to be prepared, refreshed, ready for the Dow open, for the opportunities there. But this is a great trade to look, and potentially we're going to revisit that low. So I've got an order resting a few ticks below the low there, just looking for that revisit, and I've also got an OCO order for a trading stop of 10 points. That was the one that got me out, so that took the whole position out there, which came to the 80 and came back to the 89.90, so gave back 10 points on that, but happy because I was looking for that continuation of the trend. But that's a good trade nevertheless, and one you really got to take, because that is that's one of the better setups that the market is giving at the moment. Okay, running out of time here. I've spent too long on the DAX, so let's flick over to the Dow and let's talk about yesterday's Dow. This is the more important trades. yesterday, which was Tuesday. Okay, you can see they've got 3 minute below and the 3 minute and the 1 minute above caches off the screen. Okay, I've talked about this level before, this 11,620 level. It was key in my previous videos, used it quite a lot. And this is just a great example yesterday of how really everything I did was based purely on that level. It was combined with other setups and other and price action, but that level basically got me into pretty much all of my trades. In fact, it got me into all of my trades, or it got me out of all of my trades. So I'm using it as a really key level. So let's crack on. Yeah, open, really choppy open. We had some data coming out actually at 3 o'clock. Wasn't very exciting. It was the fact that we were just drifting lower. We were just drifting lower, back towards that open level. There was the open there. I was just looking for us because we opened above that key level of 11,621. I just wanted to see how we'd fare. It was near the high of the day, the overnight. I just wanted to see if we could continue drive. We didn't get it, so it was just a little small short for me, a little bit late. But I just wanted to see, in fact, if this little downtrend was holding. Reasonably tight stop for me on this one. I wasn't going to give it much room. The premise was that we were going to pull back to that 11,621 level. In hindsight, it was the worst trade of the two. The better trade would be to wait for it to pause. You've got plenty of levels to go long here, 11,621 or the prior day's high. So it was the worst trade out of the premise, but it worked just about nevertheless. And they did have potential for it to push on there, but because the data came out, I had to come all out. Just managed to get out of the 22 just before the data, so reasonably happy with that. It was a nice little trade though. I mean, it was 13 point trade, which is okay. Data came out and changed it into a bit of a slight uptrend. Consolidated here, nothing going on. Volume very low. Ticks, no flushing ticks. Then we've got this move all of a sudden. This sort of surprise move came just after 6 o'clock London time. The great thing about this one was it drove lower, drove through that key level. I can see everyone running for the door. The ticks are so low. Got a good flush in ticks. If you miss it, fine. You know there's going to be another opportunity based on that move. We got that pullback. Same old thing as I did on the DAX the prior day. The curl back up. We've got that counter trend move. We get a cycle in our 3 minute. Start to push back up. Didn't quite get back up to overbought, but because it's the first move, that's not necessarily much of an issue. It would have been perfect if we had got it. Didn't get it, but what was perfect, the fact that we come right back to that really key level again, the 11,621. I've gone on about it. We tagged it once, tagged it, and you can just see there's a guy in the tape. He's just sitting there, not very aggressive, very subtle, very slight inkling that he's there, but he's there. It's worth a short. It's definitely worth a short. There's a lot of guys who are looking to sell at that level. So I'm one of them. I'm there. I got my order. I got my fill. So I'm sitting with that. It took a while. It did pop up here, but glad to see that it popped lower. Just rolled over. There's my 10 ticks, usual target. Rolled over. My second target was at nice new low. But I was just standing a couple of ticks in front of it just because I didn't know about this, whether it would tag this low here. We went through the low, and the final exit was at the gap fill, which happened to be almost the low of the day, so that was a great little trade. And if anyone got on the end of that long, they were rewarded nicely with that, but not for me. I got that short, great short. It was 30 plus something points on the last batch, so that was a nice trade, and it's all about being patient and waiting. We got that flush move, didn't chase it, wait for the pullback, got the pullback perfectly to that key level we've been looking at for days. It's worth a go. Running out of time, let's have a look at the last go. Couldn't resist it again, had to have another go as the market pushed back up, same old level, 11,621, had a go, got the 10 ticks just. Came back up, pushed against me, and a 10 tick stop on that, didn't get stopped on that, pushed lower, and I closed it just before the closing bell, which was bad at 1 tick or 2 tick profit. So shame not to get a flush lower on that, but we've got a decent 10 ticks on half. So again, just all about the levels, watching the levels. Let's see what happens today. We've got a good move on the DAX. I'll be back again later in the week with another video. Good trading, guys. Don't forget to check out the blog, thedaytradingroom.com.